afraid of Donald Trump, who spends full time trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. We're done. We're done with that. We are exhausted with that. Enough of that.
On November 5th, 2024, this will be Liberation Day in America. It's going to be Liberation Day.
It's perhaps the tightest US presidential race in decades. And there have been quite a few seesaw moments. If Harris wins, one can expect a continuity of sorts in terms of foreign policy. But what if Trump returns to the White House? Project 2025, a 900-page document put together by 50 conservative think tanks, including people who have served in earlier Republican administrations, may hold some clues. One can be reasonably sure that the document accords with Trump's thinking, says Ambassador PS Raghavan, Chairperson of the National Security Advisory Board. So, would India be impacted if there's Trump 2.0?
In the last 20 years, India has done much better with Republican governments than with Democratic governments.
Absolutely.
Look, I must clarify immediately, I am not in government.
Yeah.
The point of view I am making is not a
your
government
personal,
point of view, it's my
certainly.
personal.
Your analysis, yeah.
But this is what is true. But I have worked with Republican governments. I was in the Prime Minister's office when we worked with the Republican administration of George W. Bush.
Sure.
And I have also had the opportunity to work with Democratic administrations in different capacities.
Sure.
What is the difference? Well, one of the things that you hopefully will not face is what you're facing today with the United States. What I call a forked tongue approach.
True.
So you have a whole series of people criticizing you on various things that you do within your country. In areas where the US record incidentally is not necessarily much better than yours. While at the same time you have a number of areas where our cooperation is proceeding extremely well. The US is our most important strategic partner, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
And there are convergences, there's no doubt about it. But there are also these irritants that keep coming up in various ways. And there's some sanctimony, the sanctimonious lecturing that you get. By and large, Republican administrations do not really...
They don't pontificate.
Trade will be another thorny issue, though it may apply uniformly to friends, partners and adversaries. But given that Trump is a deal maker, India would do well to be flexible and adopt a give-and-take approach.
The other element which is, they say, not necessarily about India, but which will definitely impact on India is trade.
Trade, exactly.
You know, we remember the first Trump administration, this fair trade and free trade. They withdrew the GST from us.
Yes.
You can expect all that and more, but I think it is, in this case, it is equal opportunities. They want to do this to their friends and their adversaries and their partners and their allies, everything uniformly. Yeah. But we should expect that, but I think we should also probably, we are in a better position to handle that now than we were in 2016-20 period.
Right.
The other thing is that, you know, there is a negotiability. Trump administration showed very clearly in its first term that you could, I mean, after all, he's a deal maker.
Sure.
So generally, there is a negotiability. So you can actually negotiate something. So if he says that we're being ripped off, it means that you're giving concessions without receiving anything in return. So if you can find what you can...
Transactional would be a good...
So you may be able to trade off a political gain for an economic loss.
Another big factor will be how the US under Trump deals with China.
The whole logic of the US saying that India is important because of China, I think the underlying logic of that is that hostility between India and China suits the United States.
Exactly.
Right? Now, to what extent they push that and try to keep us apart is a different issue. While trying to keep India and China apart, the US has a series of engagements with China, which is justified by this, the justification is that, you know, since we have a wide range of interests, there are some areas where we have to compete, some areas where we have to collaborate.
Why not allow India to do that?
Yeah, that is one thing. But if you come back to this project
Document.
2025,
Yes, yeah.
it says this policy of competition and
Cooperation
collaboration
and,
does not work. You need to dump it and you need to do a wholesale strategic decoupling from China.
In case that happens, it will be a complete turnaround of the Republican policy vis-a-vis China. If the idea is to reinvigorate the US economy and create more jobs, imposing higher tariffs on Chinese products could be a preferred option. And that may have an impact on India.
If Chinese products are cut off from the US, they will try to come into India.
Correct. They'll look for the Indian market. Yeah.
So, once again, our anti-dumping policies have to be very
Strong.
nice, very,
Or calibrated.
Well constructed. Because today you have this whole problem of people telling you that you need those, you need investment and you need imports in order to not impede the growth of your economy. But at the same time, you also need to have the policies that will encourage growth of industry in this country so that, 10 years later you are somewhere, 5 years later, 10 years later, depending on where it is. So it is a very much stronger calibration you have to do now under those circumstances than you are being called upon to do